Boys and girls, to become a blockchain master like me, you should learn about if statements, while loops, for loops, etc. And this is exactly what we're going to learn in this video. Let's give you some introduction to what we're going to learn. So first we're going to learn about the if statement, and this is a statement that just checks if some condition is true, and whether the condition is true it runs some code, and if it's false it runs some other code, as you'll see later. And also we're going to learn about loops. Loops are just are used when we have to perform an action over and over again, when we have to repeatedly run a single line of code or a block of code. So let's first learn what is an if statement. So, and by the way, all the code in this video is going to be linked down below. And here as a starting point, I have this smart contract and I have this function that checks if you are rich. And in this function you pass your bank balance, of course, and this function says you're rich, bro, if you have over $1 million, and it says you're not rich if you have less than $1 million. So how does this function work? It just uses an if statement, and this is what we're learning about in this video. And an if statement is just declared like this. You just use the if keyword, and then in this block, in this parenthesis, you'd have to put your condition, and if this condition is true, then this line of code in the curly brackets, this is the body of the if statement, is run. So if the bank balance is over 1 million, we will return that you're rich, else this code will run. So let's deploy this code and see how this function works in action. So I've deployed the contract and I have about 50 bucks in my bank account, maybe less, and let's click to see if I'm rich. So it said, the function says I'm not rich because I have less than $1 million. So that's for the if statement. It's pretty simple stuff that you will use, maybe not so much in Solidity, but you'll definitely need to know the if statement. And then let's check out this while loop. And I should mention this, but I have declared this number variable initialized to 1, and I have this function called while loop that shows us how the while loop works. In this function I initialize this variable and I set it to 0, and then I actually use the while loop, and you can specify this again. The syntax is very similar to the if statement, where we just use the while keyword, and here we again have to specify a condition. And while this condition is true, this code inside of the while statement is run. And you can have, of course, multiple lines of code here, but I'm just using one line of code. So here in the condition I'm saying while this I is less or equal to 5, I want to be increased by 1. And then after this while loop is finished, I'm just assigning this I variable to my number variable that's declared here. So this is what I meant when I was explaining how a loop works. So basically, while this is true, the I will get added 1 to this I variable. So in the first iteration of this while loop, I will be equal to 0, and then this is what I'm doing here. And then we'll check if I is less than or equal to 5. So I is 0, so it is, so the condition is true. So I gets added 1, so now I is 1. And then we'll go back again to check this while loop because it was true before, so now we have to check again because that's how the while loop works. And now I is 1, so 1 is less or equal to 5, and then we'll run this code again. So yeah, you probably know by now how while loop works. So let's deploy the contract. And the first time when I deploy the contract, if I click on number, you can see it's 1. And after I run my while loop function, let's see now how the number has changed. So yeah, the number is 6. Why 6 and not 5? Because When I reaches 5, the condition is true because we have equal to, so 5 is lesser or equal to 5, and we add 1 to I again, and then the number gets assigned a 6 value as we see here. So that's how easy the while loop is. So let's now see how the for loop works. This is a little more complicated, not really. But here I have a function that in which I use the for loop, and again use the for keyword. And here I have 3 sections. This is the first section, this is the second one, and this is the third one. And these are all separated by semicolons. In the first section you can initialize a variable, and now I'm initializing just 1 to 0, and this is only this section here, the first section, is only run once, and then we go to this section, which is the condition, and again the condition is I is less or equal to 10, and here in the third section we just add 1 to I, and this is just a shorthand for adding 1 to the I variable. And this is how the for loop works. First, this first section is run, we initialize this variable, then the condition is checked, and if it's true, this code in the for loop runs, and then we go to the third section after this code has been run, and if we run this thing, which is adding 1 to I, and then we'll check once again the condition if it's true, and this is basically the loop, and this is the flow chart of the for loop. So first the initialization is done, then we check if the condition is true, and if it is, we're going to run the code inside the loop, then we'll update the counter, and we'll check again, and this is what this picture means by counter, just adding 1. And then we run the condition again, and this is the actual loop. And once the condition is false, the loop will stop. So I've deployed the contract. Let's see what the value is of number. It's currently 1. Let's run our for loop function. It has finished. So let's click on number again, and bam, we can see that the number is 10 now after this function run.